More than 60 CEOs of Minnesota-based companies signed onto a letter issued Sunday calling for, quote, an immediate de-escalation of tensions. It marks a significant break from how businesses have reacted politically divisive actions in the years since George Floyd's killing in 2020, with many opting to stay silent to avoid alienating any large consumer base, and I think more importantly, the President of the United States. Let's bring in right now co-anchor of CNBC Squawk Box and New York Times columnist Andrew Ross Sorkin. And Andrew, it's just, I am far from the only person that's noted. We can talk about Minnesota, but I want to talk about Silicon Valley for a second. Here are people that were screeching on podcasts for years. Oh, my God. 19-year-old kids are saying this on college campus. Oh, my God. You know, sophomores in college are being taught this or that or the other. And they, you know, all they did was talk about things like that. Bill Ackman at the top of that list, along with so many people in Silicon Valley. But strangely silent when Americans are being gunned down in the street. I'm talking now not of Bill Ackman, who I believe gave $10,000 to Alex's family. I'm talking about Silicon Valley, who, again, their leaders loved talking about politics, but now strangely quiet when it may be seen crossing the Trump administration.
You know, we've been talking about just how scared CEOs in America have been about speaking about anything that would be at odds with this president. I've been calling for the last 48 hours for CEOs to speak out, specifically to the point you just made about Silicon Valley. We have some new news I do want to bring you, Joe, this morning. We put this in DealBook. This is a note from Sam Altman from OpenAI, who, of course, has gotten closer to President Trump over the last several years. I want to read you what he wrote on Slack to his staff. He said, I love the U.S. and its values of democracy and freedom and will be supportive of the country however I can. OpenAI will too. But part of loving the country is the American duty to push back against overreach. What's happening with ICE is going too far. There is a big difference between deporting violent criminals and what's happening now, and we need to get that distinction right. He goes on to say, President Trump is a very strong leader, and I hope he will rise to this moment and unite the country. I'm encouraged by the last few hours of response, this note, by the way, being sent late yesterday afternoon, and hope to see trust rebuilt with transparent investigations. This is really the first major CEO in Silicon Valley to come out so publicly and speak out in this way. This was an internal message, I should say, so it was not released publicly. We did get our hands on it overnight. But nonetheless, I think there is a movement, or at least a moment here. Having said that, you still have not heard from so many other business leaders around the country who have, for whatever reason, decided that they don't want to touch this. But clearly, business leaders, I think, have an important role in this moment. I've always been a follow the money kind of person, and this president in particular has listened to business leaders.
Yeah, well, and it is even more discordant when you have so many tech leaders lining up to go to the White House to see a documentary about Melania the weekend that a man is shot execution style. Or certainly a lot of people saying it looked like he was shot execution style. And they went and did that. And of course, which is certainly their right. But then to go silent on.
Well, and there's a question about whether there's going to be blowback.
This killing.
You look online, Tim Cook, who was at that screening, there's been a lot of blowback against Apple online. But by the way, I just want to say credit where credit is due with Sam Altman in this case, because he is somebody who has gotten, as I said, closer to the president. And by the way, his co-founder, Greg Brockman, has been a major donor to the president. And of course, they rely in large part on the government helping them with a whole bunch of different elements of the infrastructure build out. So I was, as I said, credit to Sam for doing this, because there's not been many others that have been courageous to say it aloud.
Well, I completely agree with you. Credit where credit is due. And again, I want to be very clear. If Tim Cook wants to go to the White House to celebrate the release of a movie with the president. It's probably in the best interest of the shareholders. I certainly understand that. I understand if other people want to go there and do that, if that's their job and their focus. But it seems to me if they do, they especially have responsibility to speak out when such brutality is exhibited at the same time. So CNBC's Andrew Ross Sorkin. Go ahead. Go ahead, Andrew.
I was just going to say, my only hope is for those who are not speaking out because they somehow value being in the room, that proximity to power. My only hope is that they're using that proximity, if they're not going to say it aloud, to say it privately to the president, to use whatever influence they have. If they have access to the ear of the president, to use it. And I think there's a distinction between showing up at a screening and then what they are or are not saying in that moment.
Well, right. And I will say, again, obviously, if you go out and you attack a president, not only do you hurt your company, you also put the president even more in a corner. Yes. But there are times where you do have to speak out. This weekend was one of those times. But I completely agree with you also. There are people who see the president all the time and have seen presidents through the years that have those meetings, and they try to move the president, whether it's this president or 45 previous presidents, to move in a certain direction. I completely take your point. CNBC's Andrew Ross Sorkin, as always, thank you so much. And coming up,